All right, we are official again, and looks like a small but mighty group. Just looking at you with all the power you bring to the table, I think we're going to be in for a good session. Enjoy it tonight. I was looking at we're just starting the clarification of terms section. So don't be surprised if we're coming into another period of you getting a headache. Is deep, I think. But that notwithstanding, we'll just be getting started with that beginning tonight with the introduction to the clarification of terms. But before that, just by way of greetings, let me first of all say I hope y'all had a nice Thanksgiving. And I hope you're looking forward to a joyous Christmas and New Year. We are in that season, aren't we?
Yes.
Um, in that regard, I wanted to talk about our meeting schedule for December. Now, Christmas and New Year's are on Wednesdays, and Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are on a Tuesday. So, what I'm proposing is that our normally scheduled meeting on December 24th, that's Christmas Eve. I was wondering if we could move it to Thursday, December 26th, the day after Christmas. And if we could use our New Year's Eve date and move it to Thursday, January 2nd.
Sounds
What do
good.
y'all think about that? Does it pose a problem or? I mean, we don't have to meet if it's a problem, but basically just move it from Tuesday to Thursday.
Okay.
That's okay for you, Frank? How about the
Sounds
rest
good.
of you here? Joan?
Well,
Well, Joan's going to be partying the whole week.
often I have company on Thursday. It depends. I might not because of the holiday. So.
I understand. However, I run into as much of a problem with family and people getting together on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So, how about I'm just going to move it to Thursday? Join us if you can, and if you can't, we certainly understand. How would that be?
That's great.
Good.
All right. Now,
Would you?
we'll repeat this next week when some of the people that aren't here tonight will hopefully be here, and we'll go over it with them. Plus, I'll try and send you some sort of written reminder about that change. Okay?
Good.
All right.
Okay.
So
Now,
why don't we get started? And I thought we'd do something. Well, we do it on Monday night, but tonight I'd like to just do a 3-minute meditation.
Okay.
And just get quiet for 3 minutes. Let's get Ron in here. And no music or anything. We'll just be quiet for a few minutes.
that's not possible with us. You know that.
Stretch yourself here. Let's get Ron completely
Oh,
in. Let's see. He's probably having fruit for dessert. Ron, are you there?
not yet.
Oh. Hello? Are you there, sir? Ron,
don't see
can
him.
you hear me?
There
Oh,
he
Here he
there
is.
he is. We're
Hi,
making
Ron.
progress. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Ron.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's all right. We're glad to see you as usual.
We
We
left the
were
light on for you.
just getting started. However, Ron, I was just telling them I'd like to move our meeting schedule for Christmas Eve, Tuesday, December 24th, to Thursday, December 26th, and do the same thing the following week for New Year's. So I hope that'll be convenient for you. A lot of people just won't be able to come because they've got family, etc. But we want to move the 24th to the 26th and the 31st to January 2nd. So we were just getting into our study tonight, and I'd like to start with a 3-minute meditation. So relax in whatever way is comfortable for you, and let's just observe a few minutes of silence. Let me do this a little differently here. Probably better this way. All right, I think I got it right. Let's do 3 minutes of silence. Thank you. So, if you're ready, we began tonight with the supplement to the manual for teachers. It's called Clarification of Terms. And it begins on page 77 in the manual for teachers. Do you all see it there? It's
Yeah.
the
Yes.
introduction to the clarification of terms. Frank, would you be reader 1
Okay.
and Sherilyn reader 2? I'm skipping Hildegard, right?
I'll try it today. I have a new way of looking at my book.
All right, just when I thought I had you all figured out.
Just set it, just put it all upside down.
Hilda is 3, Joan is 4, and Ron is reader 5. So let's get into this introduction. How many of you have done this section before? Any of you, Hilda? So you know it's a pretty interesting section. It's unlike any clarification of terms in any book I've ever seen before. But let's see what Jesus has to say about it. Frank, would you start out, please?
Hey, introduction. Number 1, this is not a course in philosophical speculation, nor is it concerned with precise terminology. It is concerned only with atonement, or the correction of perception. The means of the atonement is forgiveness. The structure of individual consciousness is essentially irrelevant because it is a concept representing the original error or the original sin. To study the error itself does not lead to correction. If you are indeed to succeed in overlooking the error, and is just this process of overlooking at which the course aims.
So, you know, we usually read a couple of paragraphs before discussion, but I don't know. I think I'd like to just go through some of the salient sentences here in paragraph 1 and make sure we have a common understanding of the terms that are being used. It says, this is not a course in philosophical speculation. What's speculation?
Contemplating something and trying to figure out what it's about,
Okay.
or concentrating on.
Excuse me. Others, what would you say it means, speculation?
Or how it may have derived from a variety of philosophies.
A variety of points of view about the meaning, right?
Right.
Different opinions about it. And philosophical. Somebody want to Google that? What's philosophical? Any of you tech people here know how to do that?
Yep.
Thank you, Frank.
You want philosophical?
Yes, please.
What is philosophical? Oh, it gives me a number of them. Oh, and it's talking to me, so that's not what I wanted. Hey Siri, what is philosophical? Philosophy No. Philosophy is a systematic study of general and fundamental questions concerning topics like existence, reason, knowledge, value, mind, and language.
Okay, so we'll take that, and just so we have a general understanding, this is not a back and forth about opinions on important questions. How am I doing?
Good.
Sounds good.
Nor is it concerned with precise terminology. I'll keep going.
Good
It is
idea.
concerned only with atonement. What's atonement?
Correction.
Correction of errors.
The correction of errors in thinking or the correction of our perceptions.
Right.
Now, notice it's not asking for a debate or our opinions on this, is it?
Right.
No,
No need.
Not to say that you can't have opinions on it. To me, what it's saying is your opinions do not matter. That's where he's getting ready to take this into an absolute. So you debate it on your own time. That is not the purpose of what we're doing. We're not here to defend it or debate it or to do a back and forth about it. Is that hitting home, right?
Right.
The means of the atonement is forgiveness. The means of correcting errors in thinking or correcting errors in perception is forgiveness. What's forgiveness?
For me, it's clearing my mind of guilt.
Okay.
Or clearing my mind of judgment.
If you would like to atone, let go. That's the definition here of forgiveness. It means stop it. Just let it go. Don't feel bad about it. Don't beat yourself up about making a mistake. Simply let it go. Because he's saying if you spend some time debating, that is gonna dilute the purpose of what we're talking about. Sentence 4, the structure. Wait a minute, are we in agreement with sentence 3? The means of correcting errors in thinking is to let the errors go. That's how you achieve atonement. Yep. Sentence 4, the structure of individual consciousness is essentially irrelevant because it is a concept representing the original error or original sin. That's worth talking about, isn't it?
Yes.
yes.
What is it he seems to be saying about individual consciousness? First of all, he's saying we're not going to even talk about that. Yes?
I lost you for a minute. What did you say?
We're not even going to take into account this thing called individual consciousness. We're not going to spend time on that because to do that is to talk about the original error or the original sin. What was the original error or original sin?
Is that the tiny mad idea?
It is, but it's being called a different words here. I'll give you a hint. It starts with the word individual.
It's the ego.
All right. But let me
Separation.
just read
The
it.
individual
All of your
consciousness.
words are fine, but for clarity, let me just stick verbatim. The structure of individual what? Sentence 4. What's the next word?
Consciousness.
Consciousness.
We are not going to take or debate or spend any time talking about individual consciousness or respecting individual consciousness or respecting how you see things as individuals. That will not really, that is not the point of this conversation at all, because to spend time talking about your individual views, how you see things, your individual consciousness is what got us into this mess. You see what he's saying here?
Mhm.
So again, it's going to be helpful to use this thing that I'm finding I use a lot. Is your higher self an individual consciousness?
No.
Higher consciousness.
It's not an individual. So we're not going to spend time here debating how you see it as individuals, because that's the problem. Helpful? And we're just into the first paragraph. Here's the other thing. Sentence 5. To study the error itself does not lead to correction. What is the error again?
Let it go.
Oh, that's forgiveness part. That's more process. But he just said what it was in the previous sentence, in sentence 4. What is the error?
Separation.
Individual
Individual consciousness.
consciousness.
Individual what?
Consciousness.
Okay.
Here, let me paraphrase sentence 5. To study the error of individual consciousness does not lead to correction if you are indeed to succeed in overlooking the error of individual consciousness. And it is just this process of overlooking individual consciousness at which the course aims. Okay, so just so for better or worse, whatever you think about it is not what we're going to talk about. How am I doing?
Good.
Paragraph 2, we go to Cheryl and White, correct?
Okay, yes. All terms are potentially controversial, and those who seek controversy will find it. Yet those who seek clarification will find it as well. They must, however, be willing to overlook controversy, recognizing that it is a defense against truth in the form of a delaying maneuver. Theological considerations as such are necessarily controversial since they depend on belief and can therefore be accepted or rejected. A universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible but necessary. It is this experience toward which the course is directed. Here alone, consistency becomes possible because here alone, uncertainty ends.
So we want to take this one, spend a little time with it as well. There's no need reading through this stuff if you don't understand it, right?
Right?
So let's just take a serious minute. They're only like 5 paragraphs and talk about it. Paragraph 2, all terms are potentially controversial. Why? Why are
Because everyone has a different interpretation.
okay? So we communicate, for example, we communicate in words, whether it's spoken or written. What's the problem with using words?
People interpret them
definitions.
differently.
They have a prerequisite. Every word you use has a definition to you. So if you're individuals, I can say sky, and it may have a different meaning to each of you. I can say the word belief. Any word you use cannot stand alone. It must come with a predefined definition in the receiver's mind in order, both the giver and receiver's mind, in order to communicate. Do you see how so many breakdowns are possible? Have you ever said something to somebody and you meant it one way and they obviously took it a different way?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Same words, different meanings to different people. So it shouldn't be surprising that all terms are controversial. And if you want to engage in speculation, those who seek to speculation or controversy will find it. But if you're willing to overlook all controversy and let's just say yes to everything, maybe you'll find the clarification that you are seeking. Stop putting up obstacles to what we're going to say, and maybe you'll understand it. He goes on to say, I'm in sentence 3, they must, however, be willing to overlook controversy, recognizing that, I'm paraphrasing, that it is an ego ploy to defend against the truth in the form of a delaying maneuver. At the level of the ego, here's the trick. If I can get you to spend time debating it, you won't be doing it.
Right.
What a trick, right?
Right.
Do you see why I'm so often against thinking about it?
Right.
It's like
Rather
all
than
talk and no
simply
action.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I think in colloquial terms, you could say it's all talk and no action. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
Yes. And so that is the trick that Jesus says is going on here. Then he goes on to say something else that is pretty earth-shaking in sentence 4. Theological considerations as such are necessarily controversial since they depend on belief and can therefore be accepted or rejected, right?
Right.
You talk to a Buddhist and they say something to you about what they believe, and you can accept it or reject what they believe. So belief, for all that we've hyped it up to be and gone to wars over and killed people in the millions over belief, ain't all that. There's something more fundamental than simply belief. And he's going to tell you what it is. By the way, what does theology mean? Where it says theological considerations. What is theological? I got the AL suffix. Go ahead.
Did it have to do with religion?
More specifically, a Latin word for God is theo.
The
Yeah.
study of God.
Okay, the study of God, the study of deity. Now, I'm going to move to sentence 5 because it ties in better with where I think he's going with this. Sentence 5, a universal theology is impossible. A universal study of God will not render the same results. But a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary. Believe it or not, he is telling you what the strategy is with this course. A universal study of God is impossible because how can you study all that is? How do you do that?
There's so many opinions on that topic, it'd be driving me crazy.
So is that in the realm of theoretical or philosophical speculation? If you were to study God and use certain scientific methods like observation and things like that, I've used this for many years, so forgive me if you've heard it before, but let's take, what's the United States like? You've studied, you know about the United States, right? Joan, you live in Alaska. That's in the United States. What's the United States like? And
What's what like?
the United States. You live in Alaska.
What's it like?
Yeah, I'm from another country, and I'm asking you. You live in the United States, right?
Right.
So what's it like, Joan? And no worries, I'm going to get your opinion, and I'm also going to ask Frank, except Frank lives in Miami. Frank, what's the United States like?
Part of one union country.
I'm not really asking for an answer. but I'm trying to make a point. Sherilyn, you live in Montana. What's the United States like?
Oh, it's very mountainous with plains in the valley, and they raise cattle there. And it's
No,
cold in the wintertime.
okay, except Hilda, you live in Iowa. Are there mountains there?
A little bit, but mostly it's flat and it's got all sorts
Wait,
of
don't you
stuff
all
growing.
live in the United States?
Yes.
Do you see my point?
Part of a union.
The only thing you can describe is the part you're able to observe. And since you're not everywhere, how can you say what it's like? Do you see the fallacy of studying all that is, of studying God, and yet we have all of these institutions, no offense to any of them in particular, from the Catholic Church to the Muslims to that want to tell you what God is and what God isn't. You can't help but have controversy at that level, at the level of study. So what's the course going to do? He says again, paragraph 2, sentence 5, a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but the only way to know God. He just says necessary. Are you following me?
Yes.
It is this experience. I'm not trying to help you study God. I'm trying to help you experience God. That is the only thing that can be universally convincing, because it's in everyone and everything everywhere. This experience is universally possible, where its theology is not universally possible. Here alone, consistency becomes possible. Where's here? What's he mean by here?
When you experience,
This, yes, this experience. And if I went around and asked you at some level or another, all of you have experienced something that your eyes can't see, that the world doesn't acknowledge at the level of belief, it's controversial. But when you have an experience, no one can take that away from you.
well, is it talking about a meditative experience?
Have you ever, there are many ways to experience.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a voice that said something to you in a very intuitive way, even though it defined tradition? Have you ever had a voice that said, take a left when you usually would take a right?
Yes,
Have you ever been in a meditative state where you were still alive and yet you completely forgot where you are, where you were? Have you ever had a situation where you stopped thinking even and were in a suspended experience, even for a few moments? Isn't that the goal of meditation itself?
Mhm.
Is to come out of the world and experience a reality not of this world. Isn't that what makes you come to study group and want to be with other like-minded people that you can share your experiences with in a safe place because you're convinced they're having the same experiences you are? You're aware that you're not the only one having these sorts of experiences, even though they defy all the teaching and all the logic of the world. That is where the course's teachings lead. Let's go to paragraph 4 and 5, and I think you'll see what I'm talking about and what Jesus is talking about here. We're up to Hildegard for 4.
We're on 3,
For
aren't we?
three, for
Oh,
three,
Yeah, we haven't done 3 yet.
I'm sorry, let's do 3. I'm getting
yeah,
ahead of
it's
myself.
important, we shouldn't miss it.
Right.
Okay, this
So,
course,
Mhm.
this course remains within the ego framework where it is needed. It is not concerned with what is beyond all error because it is planned only to set the direction toward it. Therefore, it uses words, which are symbolic, and cannot express what lies beyond symbols. It is merely the ego that questions because it is only the ego that doubts. The course merely gives another answer once a question has been erased. However, this answer does not attempt to resort to inventiveness or ingenuity. These are attributes of the ego. The course is simple. It has one function and one goal. Only in that does it remain wholly consistent because only that can be consistent.
What is the course's simple function and one goal? Do you know what it is already?
To lead the way to enlightenment.
who we really are.
Okay, let me go back. Hilda first. You said,
I said, what did I say?
what is, go ahead.
It leads us toward enlightenment. It helps us
All
to
right.
guide us to what we need to accomplish, what we want to accomplish.
And Joan, you said the course is one function and one goal is what?
To know and experience what we really are.
All right. Closer, because I heard the key word there. Check us out, Hilda, as we move toward closure on this, okay? Who's our next reader? Are we up to 4, paragraph 4?
No.
Is
Yep.
that Joan?
I guess so. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
The ego will demand many answers that this course does not give. It does not recognize as questions the mere form of a question to which an answer is impossible. The ego may ask, how did the impossible occur? To what did the impossible happen? And may ask this in many forms. Yet there is no answer, only an experience. Seek only this, and do not let theology delay you.
Ron, paragraph 5, and we'll summarize.
You will not notice that the emphasis on structural issues
You will.
in the course is brief and early. Afterwards and soon, it drops away to make way for the central teaching. Since you have asked for clarification, however, these are some of the terms that are used.
All right. So in paragraph 5, it kind of backs off and lightens up a bit from the profound points that were being made in the previous paragraphs. The course, I'm reading paragraph 3, sentence 8 and 9 and 10. The course is simple. It has one function and one goal. This course is not in the book. Let me just summarize. The book prepares you for the central teaching, which is to gain the universal experience, to feel its reality in your life. All these other 1,200 pages of words was not really the point. They were simply preparatory to help you to meet the conditions to start having the experiences. The central teaching of this course are the experiences. Did you already know that? You say, well, if I study all these words and stuff, I'll have it. No, that's not it. Look at paragraph 5. Jesus says, you will notice the emphasis on structural issues in the course is brief and early. Notice how many words were in the text. Notice how long the workbook lessons were in part 1. Notice in part 2 of the workbook, they lost a bunch of words. Every lesson was 2 short paragraphs. All those words before was to get you in the zone. And then you didn't need as much instruction and discussion. Do you see he's saying all of those structural issues were early and brief? Because by part 2 of the worksheet, remember how workbook, remember the intro to the workbook part 2, the first sentence said, words will mean little now. Does that ring a bell? You can look it up, okay? He's telling you the words are falling away. We're not focusing on words. The words are valid, but those are only the introduction to the central teaching. And as he was saying before, what we are preparing you for is to have the experiences It is your experiences that are the central teaching of this course. Now, a lot of course students don't see that at first. That's why I wanted to take considerable time to go over this brief but revelatory introduction. Is that the way you were seeing the course before?
Really?
Most students, they thought it was the words. They thought it was the book. It's not the book. The book is preliminary, even though it's taken us a year to get through that part. It's a hell of a book, right?
Right.
Now, we will start beginning next week making our way through this clarification of terms section. Notice he didn't really want to do even that, but he said, since you wanted me to be more traditional and add a clarification of terms section, I'll give you a clarification. And when we finish this, you're going to have a headache again. So you get your Tylenol ready, and we'll start these clarification. There are only 6. The first 5 are presented in pairs, and we'll talk about why that's being done. And the last one ends up with clarifying the role of the Holy Spirit. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. I know I am. Questions, comments, criticism?
Why haven't you told us this before?
You have to do it in due time.
Oh, I know, but this is so simple.
I'll tell you why. One of the reasons is if I had told you this before, you wouldn't have believed me.
I know.
The ego is strong in this one. The force is strong in this. No. Thank you, Cheryl. More comments or anything before we move on? All right. Well, next we are going to the workbook for students. We've made our way to lesson 330. There are 365 total lessons. And if you've done the workbook before, you'll know that the last lesson lasts the whole week or something like that, the same lesson. But that notwithstanding, we'll get there in due time. Tonight, we're on lesson 330, and it's on page 466 in the workbook for students. But as usual, we start with the special theme for this section, and that's on page 461. Now, we spent considerable time on this special theme last week, so I won't foreseeably devote as much time to it. But let's read through that and get us in the mood for our workbook lesson tonight, as usual. Ron, did you read, or did you?
Yes, I did.
I thought so. Hey, can I read tonight? I'll start.
Well, I don't know. Should we let him do that?
Yes.
He does a fine job, so we should.
He does, you're right, he does.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say, give us a minute, let us vote. At any rate, we are 461. What is creation? Creation is the sum of all God's thoughts in number infinite and everywhere without all limit. Only love creates and only like itself. There was no time when all that it created was not there, nor will there be a time when anything that it created suffers any loss. Forever and forever are God's thoughts exactly as they were and as they are, unchanged throughout time and after time is done. Why don't we go back and have Frank do paragraph 2, okay?
God's thoughts are given all the power that their own creator has, for he would add to love by its extension. Thus his son shares in creation and must therefore share in power to create. What God has willed to be forever one will still be one when time is over, and will not be changed throughout the course of time, remaining as it was before the thought of time began.
All right, you want to talk about those two? What can you state in those two paragraphs? It sounds rock solid. What can you say about it? Which part can you analyze? Which part leaves room for debate? Is it the part about when it started? Or your speculation about when it's going to end? Or what happened in a certain year to it? And how it recovered from that? Or what happened to it that year when the final piece was added? What was that final piece? You want to talk about that part? Which part do you want to discuss?
Well, I think of it as God is all, God is everything. God is thought, all thoughts, all creation.
Period, drop the mic? Or do you want to talk about it? You want to think about it? Which part of that do you think you can debate?
It's laid out very, yeah, there's nothing to debate. It's just
It is.
about
As Kathleen would say, it just is.
God
It
is.
is what it is.
That is the only reality. Now, what does that mean for you and your future is also discussed, because paragraph 1, sentence 2 is where all hope lies. Only love creates and only like itself. That's good news, right?
Yes.
yeah.
And because it's unchangeable, what is there to fear?
There is nothing to fear.
I first read that. I said, I love you, Jesus, but come on, get serious. But the more I do it and the more I have these experiences, I start to see that there is another reality. And I can't touch it and taste it per se with my body's senses, but it's there nevertheless, isn't it? Now, for those who want to engage in philosophical speculation, what legitimate speculation can there be? It's not debatable
No,
except to the insane. And that's all our brothers and sisters. We love them. They are us. But they think they have autonomy over this. So, do you envision a time when they can change this thing?
no.
So, are they doomed for eternity to an impossible task? That's a lot of suffering.
Yeah, it is. I don't think they, I don't find where there is punishment for those who don't believe in this message. And I'm not explaining it very well, but I don't expect these people to be punished by God if they're whatever.
Why would God have to punish them?
He wouldn't.
They didn't do anything.
No.
They just thought they did, or thought the impossible was possible. Didn't we read about that a few hundred?
Oh,
Right.
probably.
And
Yes.
let me ask you, when did the impossible happen? When was the separation? When did the separation occur that put us into all of this misery and pain? When did it happen?
It happened with the tiny mad idea.
All
Or
right.
so it's different for different people.
That's why I want to mess with you on that, Joan. It never happened.
It didn't happen.
When did the impossible happen?
If it's impossible,
Okay.
it couldn't have.
Oh, so it happened in the dream.
It was a hallucination. If something's impossible, it cannot happen. But your ego will trick you with questions like, okay, when did we fall into the tiny mad idea? And that's very understandable that you would say that, even though you're following this whole process. I'm just trying to show you that even as adept as we are in this, there are certain things we still need to watch out for. That's why throughout the course, you'll see things like, we are at home in God. dreaming of exile. Why? Because the impossible never happened. And yet, we were talking last night. Remember, we watched this brief video about Joseph Campbell, the mythologist. And in that, he talked about when we evolve and awaken and start operating from this heart chakra of compassion. Does your heart go out to people that think they can accomplish the impossible? That they can be separate and apart from what is one? Now, even if you understand it, your compassion and that you've seen your brother as yourself says, how can I help? How can I help relieve the suffering that they're bringing on themselves? It's very simple. The impossible is not possible. Yes? It's not complicated. Oh, here's what Jesus says. It's not complicated except to the deluded. So you want to help your brothers and sisters, right? But
Some of them.
man, you're trying to help people that don't want to be helped. Or at least their ego makes them think they don't. But we want to help anyway. And yet, we don't know how to help. Maybe this Holy Spirit knows how to help us help them. Because if you left it up to me, I don't have a clue. I could help those that want to be helped, but those that don't want to be helped, I get stumped with that. Don't you?
Yes. Don't feel very compassionate or very loving sometimes, and it upsets me, but it's there.
So that's the dilemma. I need a savior. How about you? One has been provided. It was provided in the very instant we had this crazy, delusional, insane notion that what is one could be rendered into separate parts. Creation is the sum of all God's thoughts. Notice it didn't say all God's bodies, right? It's all mental. Now, here's the thing. The attributes of being mental are different from the attributes of being physical. Most notably, something that is mental can be everywhere at once. How about the spirit of Christmas? Can it be everywhere at once? Can it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it necessarily is, but at least it sounds reasonable simply because it has attributes that physical bodies don't have. Take water. If you pour water into a swimming pool, can you make it so it only goes in this lane, but not that lane of the pool?
No.
Okay. Water has abilities that physical people do not have. It's close. to this formlessness that spirit enjoys. Let's finish this up and do our lesson and meditation period. Are we up to Sherilyn? Did you read? We're on paragraph 3.
Yes, we're on 3. Is there someone who's supposed to go before me? No, I guess I'm second. I
Frank
follow.
read.
Okay,
So we're good.
okay. Creation is the opposite of all illusions, for creation is the truth. Creation is the Holy Son of God, for in creation is his will complete in every aspect, making every part container of the whole. Its oneness is forever guaranteed inviolate, forever held within his holy will, beyond all possibility of harm or separation, imperfection, and of any spot upon its sinlessness.
And so next, I'm showing Hildegard, right?
So it is. We are creation. We, the sons of God. We seem to be discreet and unaware of our eternal unity with him. Yet back of all our doubts, past all our fears, there is still certainty. For love remains with all its thoughts, its sureness being theirs. God's memory is our holy minds, in our holy minds, which know their oneness and their unity for their Creator, with their Creator. Let our function be only to let this memory return, only to let God's will be done on earth, only to be restored to sanity and to be but as God created us.
Thank you. And Joan, the last paragraph.
Our Father calls to us. We hear his voice, and we forgive creation in the name of its creator, holiness itself, whose holiness his own creation shares, whose holiness is still a part of us.
So, have you ever had the experience of hearing this voice? Or what you
So,
believe was this voice? It was not of this world, but you still experienced it. That's the one. Okay. You would say, I must be crazy. No. He said, no, you're not crazy. It's still in you. It's real. And once you taste it, you'll never be able to forget it. You ever have experiences like that? You don't get to talk about them much in polite company.
I don't recall ever having any, and I'm disappointed that I have not.
Well, I would beg to differ. I think that maybe it may not have been a voice.
Yeah, it's
A voice you think is going to use, I don't know, English words? Yes?
it's probably more of a
A
feeling,
feeling.
a thought or
Yes.
a feeling. Yes.
Have you had those?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess nothing spectacular.
Mine
But,
aren't spectacular either as the world sees it, but it's not its volume. It's not the quantity.
yeah.
It's the still, quiet voice. But it's there nevertheless. And I spend my life trying to stay in touch with it. That's how compelling it is. So that's why I'm saying, Sherilyn, you say you've not heard the voice. And it's not in traditional voice.
Yeah, I know that. I know, but I do know people who have heard voices distinctly, but
I
no,
have,
I realize it.
but most of the time it's more like a intuitiveness,
Yeah, it's just
knowing.
there. And
Okay, so Hilda's shaking her heads. The rest of you
Sure.
know what we're talking about here? Have you had some sort of experience like
Yeah.
that?
It happens.
Yeah. And when you see you're not the only one, that adds
Mhm.
to your confidence about it. There are billions of people around the world that have these experiences. Some choose to ignore it, some listen to it, but think they're the only ones. And again, they're afraid to talk about it with others, right? Because they might think they're crazy. And yet, if they would, they find out, yeah, that happens to me
Yeah.
too. So I won't belabor it, although we already have again, right?
Yes.
Let's finish up our next reader here. Are we up to Ron? Or, you know,
Joan, I think it's Joan.
Joan.
let's skip. Okay, Joan. So we are now on page 466.
461, last paragraph, number 5.
We didn't finish that. I thought we
No, I don't think you read the last paragraph.
losing it. Joan, would you do paragraph 5? I'm sorry. I'm getting too excited. Are you there, Joan?
Pardon me?
We're on paragraph
want-
5 on 461. I made a mistake about it.
Oh, okay. Want me to read? Didn't I read that? No, I
Yes,
guess I
please.
didn't. Okay. Our Father calls to us.
I
We
thought-
hear his voice and we forgive creation in the name of its creator, holiness itself, whose holiness his own creation shares, whose holiness is still a part of them.
Thank you, Joan. And now let's get on to the lesson and our meditation. We're on page 466, lesson 330. Let me read that one.
Okay.
The title, I Will Not Hurt Myself Again Today. Let us this day accept forgiveness as our only function. Why should we attack our minds and give them images of pain? Why should we teach them they are powerless when God holds out his power and his love and bids them take what is already theirs? The mind that is made willing to accept God's gifts has been restored to spirit and extends its freedom and its joy, as is the will of God united with its own. The self which God created cannot sin and therefore cannot suffer. Let us choose today that He be our identity and thus escape from forever from all things the dream of fear appears to offer us. And the prayer, Father, your son cannot be hurt. And if we think we suffer, we but fail to know our one identity we share with you. we would return to it today to be made forever free from all our mistakes and to be saved from what we thought we were. Thank goodness. Just 5 minutes of meditation here, and we'll close out for the evening, if that's all right. This time I'll put some music on for us. Somehow my window got closed, folks. So let me see if I can do this quickly. And we'll try it here. There we go. I will not hurt myself again today by thinking the impossible happened, could happen, or will happen. The impossible is impossible. And be ye thankful it is so. Salvation lies in it. Don't let the impossible interfere with reality. Did you have worthwhile evening tonight? Or you?
Very.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you missed your TV shows or something, but anyhow, thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience yet again. We've run over. Final questions, comments, anything you want to say? Okay.
Just thank you, Jim.
Yeah. Hey,
Yes.
Joe, I meant to ask you any progress on how you're feeling or about the same or
Feeling better.
Oh,
you
I'm
are or
still
Joan is? About the same, Joe?
Pardon me?
Are you feeling about the same? I know you weren't feeling.
Yeah, it's about the same. Yeah, it's a little better. The doctor gave me a steroid shot. I have to have an MRI on the 19th,
Yes, ma'am.
and you give me something else after that, I guess.
You know, well, I think all of us in one way or another are dealing with life in the dream. So I love the way you keep smiling. You look beautiful. Thank you for being here and thank all of you. I'll turn it
Thank
over
you.
to our closer. Absolutely.
Okay.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. I am the light of God.
I am the light of
light
God.
of God.
I am the love of God.
I am the
And
light.
the
love of
love
God.
of God.
I am the power of God.
I
I
am
And the power of
God.
God.
Yes.
I am the presence of God.
I
I
am
I
am
the
am
presence
the
of God.
presence of God.
there.
Therefore,
therefore
wherever I am,
wherever I
Where
am.
I am,
God is,
God
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 is
Is.
and all is
all
well.
is well.
in
and
all.
all
All
is
is
well.
well.
Is well.
There is nothing to fear.
There
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 is
is nothing
nothing.
to
Nothing to
fear.
fear.
There is only love.
There is
There
There
is
is
only
only love.
love.
Namaste.
never.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, Hildegard.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the week. Get ready for some fantastic holidays, okay?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good
Have
night,
a blessed week,
everybody.
everybody.
Namaste.
nothing.